What is going on, people? It is Uncle Nick here, and in previous videos I have mentioned 1.5 dozen times that speed and power are a crucial element of what we do here. I figured it was about time I explained to you why and break down the different elements that contribute to making the speed and power go into the strength and everything that it is as a whole. Now, when you isolate these stuff, you can get as far into this stuff as mathematical equations, but I am not going there because that is not stuff you necessarily need to know from an athlete standpoint. Now, when it comes to things like velocity, speed, power, and things of that nature, there are differences, but they are very subtle. The reason that the differences are subtle is because they all go hand in hand to help generate that input to power, that forward motion, that drive on the barbell. But I'm gonna break it down a little bit so that you can see exactly what those subtle differences are and how they are actually all working in to give you that output that you're looking for. So we're gonna kick this off by starting with velocity. The reason why I'm starting with velocity is because velocity and speed are extremely similar. There is really only a minor difference between the two, and from the outside looking in, it's very easy to blur the line. But velocity is the rate of change of an object's position. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that's speed. I'm going from here to there at X miles per hour, X kilometers per hour, whatever that may be. But here's the difference, people. Speed is just the magnitude of the object's motion, the size or the extent of the motion, while velocity both has that magnitude and direction. So it can be any direction. Speed by itself is purely an external property, so therefore it is only relevant to the object that is being moved, aka a barbell, kettlebell, whatever that may be. Whereas the velocity also has that direction with it. But basically, the takeaway difference is, like I said, speed, magnitude of the object's motion, whereas velocity has both that magnitude, aka size or the extent of, and direction. Make sense? It should. I totally understand where this can be confusing because they are both relying on basically the same properties and same foundation. They are constantly working hand in hand. But with all that being said, we are now going to move on to power. The power! Yes, I'm aware that's not how power's spelled, but that's how it should be spelled. Power, basically the rate of doing work. Do work, son! But yeah, power, rate of doing work. That one seems pretty simple, right? Well, it's because it is. Think of it as how far that force moves an object. It is a motion that results from force in a given amount of time. So to make that even simpler, fast movement, large work, short time, that's power. You're putting in a fast and hard movement to produce a lot of work in a very short amount of time. That pretty much is power in a nutshell. Olympic lifting revolves around power. They're doing this huge movement to get the bar off the floor into a front rack position into a locked out overhead position, and they have to input a lot of power in that short amount of time to get that all done at once. All right, so explosiveness is basically acceleration or rate of force development. So how that whole concept translates to the body is how quickly force is developed by working certain muscles. Where this differs from everything else that we've talked about is most of everything else has an external part to it. Explosiveness is purely internal. How explosiveness actually translates to the work being done is max amount of force, minimum amount of time. Most force you can put out in the least amount of time, aka a broad jump. You are trying to jump as far as you can, as fast as you can. You're hitting the ground, boom, you're trying to take off again. You're being explosive. That is why explosives are called explosives, because as soon as they're triggered, they go from sitting still to this burst of energy in every single direction in the blink of an eye. That is what you're trying to emulate when you are trying to take off on a sprint. You're trying to go from a dead stop and accelerating and getting to max effort as fast as you can with everything you have. Now, I can see how all of those are so similar in certain aspects, but they have very subtle differences. And that's because, like I said before, they all go hand in hand to create a better, bigger picture. It's hard to have one without the other. And for some of them, you can't have one without the other, especially in the weightlifting world. You have to combine all aspects of each one of those to bring a full package come game day. I heard a saying once, and it was powerful is always strong, but strong is not always powerful. Increasing your max output can in turn increase your power output. That is your rate of force production. Say I was doing a speed set, where it was every minute on the minute for 10 minutes, 2 reps at 50%, and my deadlift max is 300 pounds. Therefore, I'm doing 2 reps at 150 pounds. So fast forward a year down the road, I'm now deadlifting 400 pounds for a max effort deadlift. Now my 50% is 200 pounds. So therefore, by increasing my max effort output, I then in turn increased my speed and power output on the lower end. Once you get to a certain weight, power isn't the main driving force, and then it turns into strength. Think of it like this: large mass, low acceleration requires a high force output, but that high force output goes into strength. Just as a small mass with high acceleration requires high force, but that is power. Power, you get speed, you get the acceleration, versus the high mass, low acceleration strength, low mass, high acceleration. They both have high force, but one is strength, one is power. And that is why I say you can't have speed without power. That is why I can't emphasize it enough. Yes, getting stronger will help, but you can't ingrain the speed and the power with those super heavy weights above 70, 75, 80%. You have to stay under that percentage range to generate that power and to become faster and more explosive. Speed kills, ladies and gentlemen. Do not neglect it. Do not neglect training those speed reps, those power reps, because they are important. They are all part of the bigger picture, but you have to train both of them to get the benefits. You can't train one and not the other. It's just not how it works. You can't continue to write with your right hand, expect your left hand to work. Right, left. And that's because I don't run my left hand, nor do I practice. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, people, is you gotta train it to get better at it. I don't practice running my left hand, so it sucks. Build that from both ends, train from both ends, and you will be a better lifter and athlete for it, I promise you. But that is about all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, as always. Until the next time, you know what the deal is. Get out there, get after it, and embrace the suck.